Hello and welcome. This is Dorie Clark, and we are here with the weekly edition of Newsweek's live interview show, Better. This week, we're here with author Nataly Kogan. She's the author previously of the book Happier Now, and her current book is called The Awesome Human Project. Break free from daily burnout, struggle less, and thrive more in work and life. That sounds like an excellent value proposition. Nataly Kogan, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here, Dorie.
Thank you. It's great to have you. And for those of you tuning in, please feel free to type into the chat box and let us know who you are and where you are dialing in from. We're excited to have you here. And please type your questions for Nataly into the chat box throughout the course of our time together. We want to hear what is on your mind. So, Nataly, the first question. So the Awesome Human Project, your new book, is talking about overcoming burnout. I think that's something that is a renewed part of the cultural conversation thanks to COVID and basically just everyone hating their lives sitting in front of video screens for 2 years. But talk to me about burnout. Why? I mean, this obviously is something that predated COVID, but why are we experiencing this so much? What are the causes? Maybe even some of the hidden causes, because we all know we're staring at screens too long. But what are the things that are driving burnout that maybe we haven't been paying as much attention to?
Yeah, it's a great question, Dorie. And the first thing I just want to say, like from the top, burnout is not just an individual problem, right? The way that your work is structured, the way that your organization that you work for, the kind of boss that you have, all of that has impact. What I focus on in my work is what are the causes of burnout that within our individual control, right? So I want to talk about those. And again, I just want to say right off the top, like I study this a lot, obviously, but I burnt out. I had this awful experience several years ago at the height of what seems from the outside of my career, running a company called Happier, Dorie, where I completely burnt out. And so what brought me to this topic is my own experience. So I want to just highlight some things that I think have led us all to be where we are. So the first might be a little surprising. I actually just shared this on social media and it's resonating so much. You know, there's a saying or this concept, right, of like, find work you love and you'll never work a day in your life, right? What a bunch of BS. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but what a bunch of BS. And I think that's actually one of the things that is causing us to burn out. Do you know that people who are passionate about their work, who care about their jobs, are at higher risk of burnout? Right? We think of burnout as having too much work, and that is one of the causes, but actually caring about your work so much that you never disconnect, as you said, screen, screen, screen. Even when you disconnect, you're thinking about work. Your identity is tied to your work. That's all that consumes you. That is a huge cause of burnout. That was absolutely true for me. I didn't burn out because I hated my job. I burned out because I love my work so much I never stopped. And I think it's only become exacerbated during the pandemic because we haven't even had those forcing mechanisms to get us to stop, right? Like, at least I need to like leave my office and maybe close the computer and walk away. Wow, why walk away? I can just carry my laptop right into the kitchen and I can make dinner and still answer emails. So I think that is a huge thing. And I think the thing that if there's one thing that I want to leave with everyone is, if you love your work, awesome. If you are passionate about what you do, awesome. I am, but work is work. And you are a human being. That's what my book is called, The Awesome Human Project. So there are all these other parts of you, the hobby part, the joy part, but part that wants to spend time with family or friends or learn new things. And we cannot ignore those. We burn out because those parts of us dry out and then we have nothing more to give. And that's the cause of burnout that I want to draw attention to, because I think it is so common right now, especially throughout the pandemic.
Such a great point. We're here with Nataly Kogan. You can learn more about her at natalykogan.com. She's the author of the new book. It's called The Awesome Human Project. And we're talking today about how to avoid burnout, how to get past that and actually be able to thrive in what we do. So I'm curious, if you are tuning in and listening, please type into the chat box, on a scale of 1 to 10, how burned out are you feeling now? Let's say 10 is maximum, like I'm really super burned out. But on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? We want to kind of take a pulse of the room, and I'd be curious to see just how collectively we're feeling about all of this. So, Nataly, one of the things that you have created is something called the Happier method. which sounds quite promising. I think many people would be interested in that. What is the happier method? How does it work? How can we become happier? Please tell us.
Yeah, well, again, just like all of my other work, I created the happier method by accident, by trying to find a way for myself to get out of feeling exhausted and burnt out. And I just want to say, like, I didn't know what I was doing. I spent 20 years in technology and finance, and Zapier is a fifth company that I've started. So everything I'm talking to you about, I had no concept in. Like, I began by Googling things like, how does one feel okay? I'm not kidding. Like, Dorie, I would Google things like, how do you feel better? So I had no idea, but I'm a research geek. You know, I grew up in the former Soviet Union. I came to the US as a refugee. My father is a scientist. I'm a very proud geek. So I turned to a lot of research, and I did research in psychology and cognitive behavior therapy and all kinds of things. And I did it to help myself. But eventually, not only did I feel better, not only did I find a way to do work that I love without constantly daily burning out, I was like, hold on a minute. If this can help me, this tortured Russian Jewish immigrant who's like comes from a family where struggle is religion, this can help other people. So I turned it into the happier method. And essentially at the core, it is about recognizing that your happiness, your emotional fitness, which is a broader concept, it's a skill. And it's a skill that we can all improve, just like physical fitness, right? If you want to run a marathon, you don't just go and start running the marathon. We know you're going to burn out. You're not going to be able to make it. So just like we do things to improve our physical fitness, work out, eat healthier, get fresh air, etc., we need to practice improving our emotional fitness. And my definition of emotional fitness, and this is why, Dorie, I wrote my second book, because I didn't quite get there with the happier method originally. My definition of emotional fitness, it is a skill of creating a more supportive relationship with yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, and as a result with other people. And when we practice these emotional fitness skills, we build our natural inner resilience, which is not about being strong or tough or never feeling difficult feelings. It's about knowing how to support ourselves through all the different emotions and challenges we face, which allows us to feel more joy, which allows us to feel more happiness, but also allows us to get through times when things are really not going well. Hashtag the last 2 years.
Right on. Thank you for that, Nataly. That's great. We're here with Nataly Kogan. She's the author of the new book, The Awesome Human Project. I had asked a few moments ago for people to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 about how burned out they're feeling. I have to say, Nataly, I think we're all still kind of doggy paddling a little bit. I see we've got an 8. We've got a 7 to 8. We have a 9. We have an 8. Good for Sabrina. She says now it's a 1. But years ago, it was an 11. So good job, Sabrina. We've got a 7 to 8, a 5, an 8, an 8. We've got an 8. We have a 6 months before. 6 months ago, it was an 8. But yeah, Nancy says I'm at a 4, but 6 months ago I was at a 9. Oh boy. Well, it's great that folks are turning the corner. And we want to take a moment to greet some of the great folks who are tuning in from around the world to join us. Thank you for being here. Michelle's here from California. Diane is joining us from Portugal. Siley is here. We have Hélène joining us from Queens. We have Kanan from St. Pete. We have Gilles from Belgium. We have Ans Marie from India. We have Sabrina from Brazil. We have a LinkedIn friend from Kuwait, a LinkedIn user from SoCal. We've got Lynn from Washington State, Sylvia from Nigeria, Raul from Miami, Ana Maria from North Carolina, Cynthia from Los Angeles, and many more. We're so glad you're all here. Type your questions for Nataly Kogan into the chat box. And if you're enjoying this conversation, hit the like button and the share button so that your friends and colleagues can benefit from it as well. Now, Nataly, I want to double down on something that you were saying. You were talking a moment ago about the concept of emotional fitness. This is probably a framework that most people aren't necessarily familiar with. We all know about physical fitness and we should be going to the gym every day. But what does emotional fitness actually mean? Like, okay, we get it. We want to be strong, but like, what do we do to cultivate it? Is there a specific set of exercises we should be doing every day? Give us the 411.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, the shortest possible summary is, so I teach 5 core emotional fitness skills. So just like, think about it, like to improve your physical fitness, you probably need to do something for lifting weights, to improving your resistance training, to improving your heart endurance, right? So think about emotional fitness this way. So here are the 5 core emotional fitness skills. The first is the skill of acceptance, which, by the way, I just want to say was a word I always used to hate, because I thought, oh, acceptance, accept life as it is. Everything is amazing. No, that is not what it means. And that was completely my fault. Acceptance, the way that I define it, is the skill of looking at the situation ahead of you, whatever it is, with clarity. Here are the facts. Here's what I know to be true, versus judgment. This is not how it should be. The world is out to get me. And doing the same with your feelings, acknowledging all of your emotions, including the difficult ones, instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this way. I should be tougher. I shouldn't feel stressed out. And then using that clarity to decide how to best move forward. So using that clarity to say, this is how I feel. This is how this is. What is one thing I could do to move forward? And acceptance, it is so, so powerful, Dorie, because we have to recognize that our dear, wonderful brain, this thing that kind of dominates our life, doesn't care about our happiness, about our well-being. Your brain only cares about one thing, keeping you safe from danger, which is wonderful. But it's created all these things that actually help us struggle. They hold us in struggle. They increase our stress. Your brain pays attention to the negative stuff much more than the positive. It hates uncertainty. That's why the past couple of years have been so hard. Uncertainty means the brain doesn't know how to protect you. So it creates a lot of stories. Oh, this will never work out. This will be horrible. We know those stories. So we have to practice acceptance. We have to say, okay, what's the clarity? What are the facts? How do I feel? And what's one thing I could do to move forward? Second skill is gratitude, which I think requires less explanation. But, we think of gratitude as like from time to time, on Thanksgiving, we pause and we're like, oh, I'm grateful for the food. Or I'm grateful for, this turkey. Let's eat. Gratitude is a skill to practice daily. And especially right now, when we're still in uncertainty, when the brain's negativity bias is in overdrive, where everything seems, oh, this is wrong, this is bad, focusing your attention every day in the morning, 3 tiny specific things you are grateful for brings you the ability to appreciate more goodness in your day, actually improves resilience. The third skill is self-care, which is not a luxury. It is not about getting a massage, and it is not a gift you get when you've done all the things on your to-do list. That is not self-care. That's how our culture, I feel like, describes it. Self-care is a skill of fueling your emotional, mental, and physical energy. A car needs energy to do its job of being a car. It needs fuel. You, as a human being, need energy to do your job of all the things you're doing. So we have to intentionally fuel our energy. The fourth skill is what I call intentional kindness. We are not meant to be here alone. We cannot thrive alone. As human beings, we need to feel like we are connected, and think about how much stress we felt being isolated over the last couple of years. The best way that I know how to feel connected to others is by practicing intentional kindness. Very easy. Just do something to help or elevate another person, and don't expect anything in return. Yesterday, my act of kindness was helping the 80-year-old woman next to me on the plane figure out where the headphone jack is. She couldn't figure it out. And I was like, let me teach it to you. And then she was like, oh my God, this is all scary. We ended up talking about technology and all this kind of stuff. Tiny thing. But that plane ride was not a plane ride. It was this moment of connection. And the fifth skill is what I call the bigger why. We talk about searching for a sense of purpose, like going on a pilgrimage and finding our sense of meaning out there somewhere. It is not. Your sense of purpose is in your to-do list. The way that we as human beings derive a sense of purpose is when we connect how things we are doing, how this conversation I'm having with Dorie and all of you right now, how does it help other people? How is it in service of something bigger other than ourselves? And so look at your to-do list daily and ask yourself about those to-dos that are annoying or you don't feel like doing. Who does this help? And answer the question. And connecting to your sense of purpose in the myriad of things you're doing helps you to better manage stress and actually fuels your motivation. So this is my shortest possible TED Talk on the 5 core emotional health skills, emotional fitness skills.
Amazing. Thank you very much. We're here with Nataly Kogan. You can learn more about her and her work at natalykogan.com. Her newest book is called The Awesome Human Project, and it teaches you to deal with and avoid burnout and reduce our sense of struggle that we're facing. If you are enjoying this conversation and want to make sure you never miss one of our weekly Newsweek interview shows, you can go to dorieclark.com. That's my website. Sign up to get a free self-assessment, and you will get emails with reminders about this and other very cool things. So I also want to greet some of the wonderful folks tuning in. Sama is joining us from Egypt. We have Vasilius from Greece. We have Adnan tuning in from Turkey. Maria is here from Portugal. Juanita from Colombia. Vijesh is here from the UAE. Marcio is here from Brazil. Paxti from Peru. Maxine's in Kansas City. And Scott is in Baltimore. We love having all of you guys here. And please ask your questions for Nataly Kogan. We're talking about how to avoid burnout. Feel free to type them into the chat box. We had a great one, Nataly, come in from Anna Maria. She is curious. She says, if there's someone in your life, maybe it's a friend, a coworker, and you can sense that they're heading toward burnout, they're on a bad path, but maybe they don't know it, or maybe they feel like they can't do anything about it. How can we help them? How can we potentially intervene as someone who cares about that person?
Anna Maria, what a great question. And thank you for caring and wanting to do that. I just want to raise both of my hands. I was that coworker. I was that person who was heading down to this very dark place that people, my colleagues, my husband, people in my life try to help, and I was unwilling to listen. So the first thing I just want to mention, when someone is really in the depths or getting to that really dark place, it's really hard for them to hear you. So I don't want you to feel discouraged if you've tried. It's not about you. When we're in that dark place, it's really hard to hear others. But the specific suggestion I have is the more than you can be on the same side with that person. And first of all, just help them to feel that it's okay to feel how they feel, that they don't need to feel better or to fix anything right away. That is actually the biggest thing you can do to help. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but just like I talked about the first emotional fitness skill as being acceptance of your own feelings, when we are feeling really down or really in that spiral, we're feeling unsafe. And so when people give us a lot of advice, hey, do this to feel better. Hey, do this to feel better, that we're not open. So what's really helpful is if you could just get on the same side as that person and be like, listen, do you want to talk about it? I've noticed you seem to be struggling with something. Is there anything you want to talk about? And then when you talk to them about it, don't offer advice, don't have ways for them to get better. And that actually, research shows when we create that space for ourselves and for others to just feel that way without pressure to feel better, that actually creates an opening because that makes you feel safe. It's okay to feel how I feel. Oh, Dorie's not telling me I should feel better. She's just telling me it's okay. That actually makes my brain feel safer. And then I'm more open to any other suggestions of like, hey, you're working a lot. I think it'd be a really good idea. What if you took a break this weekend, right? But we can't give the advice because the brain is not open before we help that person feel that actually it's okay to feel how they feel.
Really interesting point. Thank you. We're here with Nataly Kogan. She's the author of the new book, The Awesome Human Project. Learn more at natalykogan.com. And we're here talking about how we can avoid burnout and recover if we feel like we're heading in that direction. We wanted to say hi to some of the great folks tuning in. Angelique is here from Florida. We've got Jennifer, also from Florida. She's from Jacksonville Beach. We have Nathaniel from Austin, Texas, joining us again. That's great. Hi, Nathaniel. Chie is here from Columbus, Ohio. Mona is joining us. We've got Scott in the house. We have Anna from New Hampshire, Gail from North Carolina, Rohit's joining us. We have Cheryl from Oregon, Rose Jean from New Jersey, Richard from Kent, UK, Rebecca from Chicagoland, Saeed from Egypt, and more. We love having all of you, and plug your questions for Nataly Kogan into the chat box. Nataly, something that I'm curious about, one of the parts that your subhead for the Awesome Human Project, you said, break free from daily burnout, struggle less, and thrive more in work and life. I want to talk to you about the struggle piece. Why is it that it just seems harder for some people? I mean, admittedly, of course, it's true. We can't know the true reality of everybody else. And, we're seeing the social media, et cetera, et cetera. But it does seem to be objectively true that with the same workload, some people just seem to be able to navigate it a little bit more fluidly, while for others of us, it just feels like, oh my gosh, it's such a struggle. It's such a slog. What is the distinction there? And if you're someone who really feels like you are enmeshed in the slog right now, what would you say is one thing that somebody could do to hopefully be able to lift themselves out of it just a bit in the near term?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say two things. I know you said one. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to offer two. So two things. And the first is, It's kind of like if you are feeling like you're just really struggling with your workload, yelling at yourself to just get it done is kind of like yelling at someone to just go to sleep, right? It just doesn't work, which is why, like people say, leaders ask me, how do I motivate my people right now? And I'm like, you can't just motivate them. You have to help them figure out, are they drained? Are they exhausted? Are they bored? Are they feeling disconnected from their work? So the first thing I want to tell you is if you're feeling like you just can't get through the day or too much on your plate, or I know there's some questions about leaders, if you feel like someone on your team is that way, the first thing is to get underneath that. And what I wanted to, that area getting underneath that is, are you totally depleted? Right? Because when we are depleted, it doesn't matter how much we want to get the work done, it's a mountain, right? So the first place to look is, what's my energy like? Am I totally depleted? Do I need to fuel myself emotionally, mentally, or physically? But the second thing I want to mention is we choose the lens through which we see the world, our work, our workload, and ourselves. We do choose it. Now, for most of my life, my choice was not conscious. I just went with whatever my brain gave me. And every day my brain was like, oh my God, there's so much to do. There's more to get done than you can ever get done. Da, da, da. That's what my brain said to me. The thing is, that was my choice. You can also choose to have a different lens. You can have a lens of, oh my God, I have so much work, I can never get it done. Or you can choose the lens of, oh, there is a lot on my to-do list. Okay, I'm going to roll up my sleeves. All right, let's talk about it. What are the most important things I need to get done? Okay, I'm going to start with those. This stuff. I don't know what to do with this stuff. Let me talk to my team about this, or let me go talk to my boss about it. I can't handle this stuff. That's a different lens. That lens is forward leading. That lens is, this is how it is, acceptance. What's one thing I could do to move forward? Oh, prioritize, talk to my boss, etc. You get to choose the lens through which you see yourself, your day, your workload, and the world. And I just want to say this, it takes courage. There's a whole chapter in my book on courage, because it takes courage to choose the lens. It is easier to stay in the habit loop of, oh my God, my boss doesn't care about me. There's too much work. I can never get it done. Your brain just wants to keep staying in that habit. So those are the two things I recommend. But I think for me, one of the most life-changing things, and in my book, I talk about these different lenses that we get to choose using these 5 skills. We get to choose the way that we see ourselves, our workload, others. And one last thing, Dorie, I want to mention, I just read this study a couple months ago that blew me away. Do you know that what is one of the highest correlated things to causing burnout? It is not having too much work. It is not having a boss who doesn't care about you. It is not having a poor support system. All those are causes of burnout. The one that correlates higher is having a narcissistic personality. And narcissistic, and it is being neurotic. Now, I say this with no judgment. I am 46. I spent 42 years of my life being neurotic. What does it mean to be neurotic? It means that you feel like, very, very broadly, I'm generalizing, it means like you feel like the world is out to get you, okay? Like one thing goes wrong and neurotic, I would be like, oh my God, that's it. You see, nothing goes right in my life. Everyone is out to get me. Having a neurotic personality is one of the things that correlates the highest with burnout. Why is that? That's a lens that we choose for the world. So if you have a neurotic personality, a colleague sends you an email that sounds a little off. You're like, oh my God, Dorie hates me. Dorie hates me. I'm never going to talk to Dorie again. I can't ask her for help. Boom, you just made up a story. You can choose a different lens. You can be like, oh, Dorie's email sounds a little off today. Oh, I should ask if everything's okay. Maybe she had a bad morning or something like that. Different lens. Notice how one keeps me in struggle. The other one, actually, I just leaned forward when I said it. Kindness, moment of connection. So we get to choose the lens with which we see ourselves and our work.
Really interesting insight. Thank you. I'm Dorie Clark, and we're here with Newsweek's weekly interview show, Better. Tune in every Thursday at 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific. Our guest today is Nataly Kogan. You can learn more about her work and her newest book, The Awesome Human Project, at natalykogan.com. We're talking about how to avoid burnout. We want to say hi to our great viewers tuning in. We have a LinkedIn user from Pittsburgh. We've got Luz from Mexico. We have a LinkedIn friend from Winnipeg. Eva's here from Ireland. Yisan from Bangladesh. We have Lilian from Brazil. We've got Bharat from Reston, Virginia. We have Monica from Denver and Kumar from Toronto. Lots of great friends here. And a question came in for you, Nataly, from a LinkedIn user. They actually had a series of them, but I'll pick one question here. They are curious, what suggestions do you have for not absorbing the anxiety of leaders above you while still being helpful? This is probably a problem. Even if we're not burned out, even if we're not especially anxious, sometimes it sort of seeps down the corporate ladder. What can we do if we're in that situation?
Oh, yeah, it's a great question. And I just want to tell you, as human beings, we are all sharing our emotions with others. And the relationship between you and your manager is one of those ones where you're really sharing feelings with each other. So we're all sharing our feelings with others, and we're all feeling feelings from others. So it's a great question of, how do we not absorb that negative energy or anxiety from our leadership or from people around us? So the first thing, like, I know there's popular advice of like, just cut negative, toxic people out of your life. What if you can't? I hate that advice, because what if you work for that person? What are you going to do? Quit your job? Some of us have mortgages and like families. You can't do that. So here I have more specific advice. So the first thing, again, this takes courage to practice. You have to recognize you cannot control other people. Just ask my husband of 25 years. I've really tried. No, just kidding. But we tried to fix you cannot control other people. We can control. You can control where you focus your attention. So think of a time when you have that interaction with someone who has a lot of anxiety and you just feel it, right? We feel it. Woo, it's taking over you. Then you're done with that interaction. What do you keep doing? We keep thinking about it. Oh my God, that was so annoying. Nataly was so annoying. Oh my God, like now Nataly was all anxious. Now I'm feeling anxious. We just keep going on and on. You know what? You can cut that out. You can stop that. You can stop that. You can't stop the other person, but you can choose to now say, this interaction is over. Whoa, that really stressed me out. Okay, I'm going to shift my attention. 2 things to help you shift your attention. Immediately do something that brings you some kind of comfort or joy. Go have your favorite snack. Go interact with someone who uplifts you, right? We have people in our life, we know they give us energy, or people who drain us. Go have an interaction with someone who uplifts you. The second thing to do is gratitude. After that really annoying, frustrating, when you're feeling like that energy and you've shifted your attention, make a list, as many little things that you are grateful for in that moment as you can come up with. I don't care how little. Wow, I am so happy my coffee is still hot. Great, fantastic. The smaller, the better. Be specific. You're not doing it to neglect your feelings. Gratitude is such a great way to help your brain shift your attention. So those are 2 things that you can always do whenever you want to not take on that anxious, negative energy. But again, remember, you have to choose to shift your attention. You are in control.
An important reminder. Thank you very much. We're here with Nataly Kogan. Check her out at natalykogan.com. And we have time probably for just one more question. We also want to say hi to Laura joining us from New Jersey, Nancy from North Carolina, Bana is here from India, Shelby from Utah, Lori from Menlo Park. We're glad to have all of you. But the last question for you, Nataly, comes from Sarah, and it's taller than your head, so I'll take it off the screen. But Sarah, thank you for your wonderful question. What she wants to know, she has spent a number of years working in different cultural contexts, Thailand, Italy, DC, and she's curious about cultural differences when it comes to work-life balance and burnout. She says, it seems to me that the Thai and Italian work-life balance and other cultural aspects would make them less likely to burn out. Do you have data or thoughts about that? I'd be curious as well. What's your thought about the cross-cultural elements surrounding this?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And the first thing I want to say, I haven't done any focused research on it, but I speak and work with people from all over the world. And I myself come from a different culture. And I think in some cultures, someone, I think you just mentioned Italy, some European cultures, there is more natural emphasis on what I call embracing your whole human. So even people who work really hard, like they go out with friends, for a drink after work, you spend Sunday having dinner with family. Those are things that really help fuel your energy, and practice self-care. In some cultures, hello, the United States of America, we worship our work. So it is really common. It's like I saw a LinkedIn post, speaking of LinkedIn, the other day, and I'm sure you guys have seen it, where it was like out of office messages. In Europe, it's like, hey, I'm taking vacation for 2 weeks. If this is urgent, please resend it to me in 2 weeks. And then the US was like, I'm going to emergency surgery. I should be offline for the next 35 minutes. But if this is really important, please send me 5 more messages. I'll reply as soon as I'm off the anesthetic. So I think that there are some cultural differences, but Dorie, I've also connected with people from countries like Mexico and Italy and Spain who are really burnt out because they're finding a way to disconnect from those other parts of themselves. So the thing I just want to share, I did 15 virtual keynotes throughout the pandemic, and I got to actually reach so many more people around the globe. So I talked a lot, you guys. I don't know how to shut up, but it gave me a broader perspective. And you know what I have found? I have actually found that I feel like we have so much more in common than the differences are. Of course, we have differences based on who we are and where we're from. But when it comes to emotional fitness, to struggle, to thriving, I feel like there's mostly things we have in common. And the biggest thing that I have found, and this is what I want you all to take away, is there are so many things we cannot control, and there are so many things we can control. And ultimately, it is our choice. And the more we focus on, okay, here's something I can control, the more that we can fuel ourselves, the more opportunity we have to thrive.
An important message. Thank you so much. This is Dorie Clark. We have been here with Better, Newsweek's weekly interview show. If you want to learn more, make sure you never miss one. Follow me on LinkedIn. Just go to dorieclark.com/LinkedIn. You can follow me there and sign up for the LinkedIn newsletter, where you'll get reminders about these conversations. And if you want to learn more about Nataly Kogan, check out her work and her newest book, The Awesome Human Project, at natalykogan.com. Nataly, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so grateful for you, Dorie. Thank you, everyone, for such great questions. And this has been really fueling for me. Now I'm going to get on stage and give a keynote about this to some awesome humans. And I know there's questions we didn't get to. You can always go to natalykogan.com and shoot me an email, or find me on LinkedIn at Nataly Kogan. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Dorie, so much.
Thank you, and see you all next week. Take care.